I'm completely happy with my arranged marriage husband because he's loyal and has strong moral character. So when I saw him peeling shrimp for his female assistant at our company dinner, I kept quiet. I just went home that evening, bought 10 pounds of shrimp and dumped them in front of him. Start peeling. You looked pretty skilled at it tonight. Men who don't respect boundaries can either learn or be replaced. After all, I have high standards. When I entered the private dining room, some unfamiliar girl was placing a piece of lobster into David's bowl without using the serving spoons. I smiled and greeted the department heads at the table, then looked at this girl who hadn't bothered to stand up. The marketing director beside her shot her a warning look. "This is Mrs. Anderson, our CEO's wife." The girl got up and smiled at me. "Hello, Mrs. Anderson. I'm the new executive assistant. I'm Amanda. First time meeting you. Please look after me." I glanced down with a smile, said nothing, and took a seat nearby. I made small talk with everyone as usual, discreetly observing David and Amanda across from me. I watched David casually eat the lobster Amanda had served him. Then I saw Amanda pick up a shrimp, looking troubled, her helpless eyes drifting toward David. David slightly furrowed his brow, took it from her, put on plastic gloves, skillfully removed the shell, and placed the shrimp meat in Amanda's bowl. I squinted, looked down, and sent a message to our housekeeper, Linda. Buy 10 pounds of fresh shrimp and cook them. Just after sending it, Amanda, who had been mostly silent, suddenly spoke. "Mrs. Anderson, I really admire your fortune. Marrying someone as accomplished as Mr. Anderson. You get to stay home and be a perfect wife, while people like us have to work hard just to survive." I raised my head, my gaze landing with curiosity on her young, attractive face. "You're obviously new here." Completely lacking in respect, Amanda stiffened, clearly not expecting such a direct response, then displayed perfectly timed anxiety and wounded feelings. "I apologize, Mrs. Anderson. I meant no disrespect. I have a habit of being too honest. Please forgive me." Her eyes deliberately focused on my handbag and designer outfit. "It's just that seeing your expensive taste and elegant style, I worry about Mr. Anderson. He's sacrificed so much to build Anderson Industries into what it is today." I couldn't suppress a laugh, propping my chin on my hand, staying silent. Everyone else at the table looked alarmed. The operations manager snapped at her. "What nonsense do you think? Mrs. Anderson is just a trophy wife? We call her Mrs. Anderson here, but outside these walls, everyone respectfully addresses her as Mrs. Thompson." Amanda appeared bewildered, as if still not comprehending. The marketing director next to her whispered urgently, "Miss Thompson and Mr. Anderson represent a merger of two elite dynasties. Miss Thompson is the only successor to Thompson Industries. What garbage are you spouting? Apologize to Mrs. Anderson immediately." Amanda's face drained of color. She chewed her lip, moisture quickly gathering in her wide eyes. As she looked desperately toward David, David caught my mocking expression, sighed with resignation, and spoke firmly. "Apologize to Mrs. Anderson. Think before you speak in the future and know your position. When in doubt, ask questions. When ignorant, educate yourself." Amanda was forced to face me and whispered pathetically, "Mrs. Anderson, I'm sorry." I rose without acknowledging her and smiled at the group. "I still have business to handle. Please continue enjoying yourselves. We'll meet again soon." When I finished my obligations, it was past 10 p.m. In the parking structure, David was waiting as always. Seeing me approach, he held open the car door in his usual manner. We exchanged light conversation during the drive, maintaining a warm atmosphere. Once home, David went to shower first. When he emerged, I had positioned the 10 pounds of shrimp Linda had prepared directly in his path. 10 pounds of cooked shrimp, perfectly organized in multiple serving bowls, covering our entire dining table. Facing David's puzzled expression, I smiled warmly. "Darling, peel these for me." David looked astonished. "Aren't you satisfied at dinner? This seems excessive. You couldn't possibly eat all this." He moved to summon Linda for cleanup, but I stopped him. "I want you to shell them for me personally." David hesitated, then subtly creased his brow. "Sarah, you understand my cleanliness issues." I smiled pleasantly. "Is that so? Yet, tonight at dinner, you peeled shrimp for your new little assistant quite effortlessly." David paused, then broke into knowing laughter. "Ah, so this is about jealousy." He sat beside me with amusement and wrapped his arm around my shoulders. "How unusual to see you envious." I assumed Miss Thompson maintained eternal poise and confidence. He bent forward and pressed a kiss to my forehead. "She's merely a new trainee, fresh from college, and clueless about professional conduct. She speaks carelessly. I noticed her youth and assisted her thoughtlessly. If this bothers you, I guarantee it won't recur." I gazed up at his attractive face inches from mine. 3 years married, 30 years old. Time had left no weathering on his features, only added sophisticated appeal. I softly caressed his cheek. David, do you recall why I selected you? From all the potential arranged partners? David raised his head questioningly. I smiled tenderly. Because you're pure. Your family mentioned your germophobia, your dislike of excessive physical contact with strangers, your discomfort when others violate your personal space. Quite fortunately, exactly like me. Meeting David's shocked stare. Our union represents a strategic partnership between Thompson and Anderson families. Our relationship has flourished these years. I expect our marriage to remain pure and successful, ensuring prosperity for both of us individually and both our family enterprises. Please don't let me down. I stood, leaned down, kissed his mouth, and arched an eyebrow. These shrimp need to be shelled completely. Consider this your consequence for failing to maintain appropriate boundaries. With another woman for the first time, behave. I'm unsure. When David finally came to bed, I applied my skincare routine and retired. Early the following morning, our dining table displayed multiple, large bowls of perfectly shelled shrimp. David had departed early for urgent corporate meetings. Linda waited quietly nearby. I smiled at her. Linda, you have quite a large household, don't you? Please take these home. My husband prepared them personally, so they're certainly sanitary. I hope you'll accept them. Following this episode, David and my daily routine resumed normally, as though this uncomfortable, minor incident served merely as marital spice. Insignificant, yet oddly entertaining. He actually treated me even more attentively afterward. I had no intention of monitoring his daily female interactions. As Thompson Industries heir, my schedule stayed packed. Nevertheless, 1 month later, while he collected me for a family gathering, he lowered his window, revealing Amanda's somewhat triumphant face in the passenger position. My expression soured. Good evening, Mrs. Anderson. You look absolutely stunning tonight. Amanda seemed entirely unaware of my irritation, beaming cheerfully, her lovely features radiating seemingly innocent charm. David appeared equally untroubled, apparently sensing nothing inappropriate. I scowled and pulled open the passenger door, stating icily, "Exit the vehicle." Amanda's smile disappeared completely. After an extended pause, she murmured, "Mrs. Anderson." Mr. Anderson was simply offering me transportation home. I experienced motion sickness, which is why I chose the front seat. She glanced back, her desperate gaze seeking David's support. David regarded me with mild exasperation. Recognizing my temperament, he wisely avoided defending her. Presently, I repeated coldly a second time, "Get out." David felt compelled to intervene. "Please allow Mrs. Anderson her seat." Amanda reluctantly exited, while biting her lip as she reached for the rear door handle. I interrupted sharply, "Who gave you permission to enter this car?" Amanda stood frozen. I inhaled deeply, extracted 2 crisp bills from my wallet, and pushed them into her jacket pocket. Unable to afford your own transportation? Times must be genuinely difficult. I'll cover this expense. Head home safely. The silence inside the car was heavier than the humid night air we had left behind. David drove with both hands gripping the wheel at 10 and 2, his knuckles white. The passenger seat, my seat, still held the faint, cloying scent of Amanda's cheap vanilla perfume. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. I simply rolled down the window entirely, letting the wind whip through the cabin, purging the scent. "Sarah." David finally broke the silence, his voice tight. "It wasn't what you think." She was standing in the lobby, claiming her ride canceled. It was late. "David," I said, my voice calm, almost bored. I examined my manicure in the passing streetlights. "Do you know why I had the interior of this car custom upholstered in Italian Napa leather?" He paused. "Because you like the texture?" "Because it doesn't absorb stains easily. But some stains aren't physical." I turned my head slowly to look at him. "You are the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. You have a driver on call. You have Uber corporate accounts. You have security details. And yet, you chose to play chauffeur to a subordinate who has already disrespected your wife publicly." I didn't think. "Exactly." I cut him off. "You didn't think. And that is what worries me. Not her. She is a gnat. But a gnat can distract a driver and cause a crash." David pulled into our driveway. He didn't wait for me to open my door this time. He rushed around the vehicle, panic visible in his eyes. He opened my door and offered his hand. I took it, but I didn't squeeze back. "Have the car detailed tomorrow," I said, stepping onto the pavement. "Actually sell it. Get a new one. I don't like sitting in second-hand seats." David looked at the sleek luxury sedan, pained, but he nodded. Done. The next week was a masterclass in passive-aggressive warfare. I didn't go to Anderson Industries, but the rumors reached me through my own network. Amanda hadn't just taken the money, she had weaponized it. According to the grapevine, the arrogant heiress had thrown cash in the face of a hardworking girl, humiliating her for being poor. Amanda was playing the plucky underdog fighting against the cruel, out-of-touch elite. She's crying in the break room again, Linda, my housekeeper, told me while pouring tea. Linda's niece worked in HR at Anderson Industries. Ideally positioned, so the vice presidents have to walk past her to get coffee. Let her cry, I said, blowing on my Earl Grey. Tears are the only water source for weeds. She's also bringing homemade lunches for Mr. Anderson, Linda added, her voice dropping, claiming she noticed he looked pale and needs real home cooking, unlike the restaurant food he usually eats. I set the cup down. The china clinked sharply against the saucer. Is that so? I smiled, but Linda flinched. Prepare the car. And pack David's lunch today. I'll deliver it myself. I arrived at Anderson Industries at noon. The receptionist, a smart girl named Jessica who knew exactly who signed the ultimate paychecks, buzzed me through immediately. As I approached the executive suite, I saw it. David's office door was open. He was at his desk, reviewing files. Amanda was leaning over him, excessively so. She was pointing at something on the paper, her blouse low-cut, her hip pressed against the edge of his mahogany desk. On the corner sat a generic Tupperware container. David, I announced, my voice projecting effortless authority. Amanda jumped as if electrocuted. David looked up, relief washing over his face. Sarah, you're here. I walked in, the heels of my Louboutins clicking a rhythm of imminent violence. I didn't look at Amanda. I walked straight to David, placed a sleek, tiered bento box from the city's finest Japanese restaurant on his desk, and kissed his cheek. I happened to be in the area. I lied smoothly. I thought you might want something edible. I then turned to the Tupperware. Oh, what is this? Amanda hugged a file to her chest, her eyes wide and wet. I just made some stew, Mrs. Anderson. I noticed the boss has been working hard and I thought. Stew, I repeated. I reached out, picked up the container, and examined it. David has a severe allergy to processed preservatives often found in home bouillon cubes. Did you vet the ingredients list with his doctor? Amanda paled. I know, it's just family style. So, you're trying to poison the CEO? I asked lightly, dropping the container into the trash bin with a heavy thud. No. Amanda. David stood up, his voice stern. He had finally caught the vibe. I told you earlier, I already had lunch plans. Please take your files and go. Amanda bit her lip, looking between us. I was just trying to help. Mrs. Anderson doesn't have to be so cruel. We aren't all born with silver spoons. I laughed. It was a genuine, dark laugh. Miss Amanda. I stepped into her personal space. She smelled of vanilla and desperation. This isn't about spoons. It's about competence. You are an executive assistant. Your job is to manage his schedule, not his diet. If you want to be a housewife, resign and find a husband, but don't practice on mine. I plucked the file from her hands. And fix your blouse. You're in a place of business, not a nightclub. Amanda fled, bursting into tears as she ran into the hallway. David sighed, rubbing his temples. Sarah, was that necessary? HR is going to have a nightmare. I am HR's nightmare, I said, sitting on the edge of his desk. David, she isn't in love with you. She wants your life. And she thinks I'm the only thing standing in her way. You're too kind, which is why I love you, but kindness without boundaries is just weakness. David looked at me, then at the trash bin. She's been leaking internal memo data, he admitted quietly. I've been tracking it for 3 days. I was waiting to catch her red-handed. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, my germaphobe husband is playing detective. I learned from the best. He smirked. I didn't want to fire her for the car thing and look like I'm whipped. I wanted to fire her for cause. Just give me 2 more days. I smiled and patted his cheek. Good boy. You have 48 hours. Or I buy the company and fire her myself. 2 days later was the Thompson-Anderson merger anniversary gala. It was the social event of a season. I wore a backless emerald gown that cost more than Amanda's student loans. David looked devastating in a bespoke tuxedo. We were the picture of power. However, as we entered the ballroom, a ripple of whispers went through the crowd. Is that who invited her? I followed the gaze of the crowd. Standing near the buffet, wearing a white dress that looked suspiciously like a wedding gown cut short, was Amanda. She had somehow bypassed security. She wasn't alone. She was clinging to the arm of Mr. Sterling, a rival competitor of David's, a man known for his slimy business tactics and hatred of the Anderson family. Amanda spotted us. She whispered something to Sterling, and they approached. Mrs. Anderson, Amanda chirped, her voice emboldened by the champagne glass in her hand. So lovely to see you. I'm here as Mr. Sterling's personal guest. I suppose you can't kick me out of this car. Mr. Sterling sneered. David, your former assistant has been telling me some very interesting things about Anderson Industries' upcoming patent filings. Seems you treat your staff poorly. I treat talent with respect. The room went silent. This was open war. Sterling was admitting he had poached her, and she was spilling trade secrets. David's face didn't move. He didn't look angry. He looked bored. Sterling, David said, brushing a piece of lint from his lapel. If you enjoy eating leftovers, that's your prerogative. But you should check the expiration date. What's that supposed to mean? Amanda demanded, her voice shrill. I stepped forward. It means, my dear, that David knew you were leaking data. The patent filings you accessed last week? Those were decoys, planted specifically for a leak. Amanda's glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. What? Sterling froze. We fed you false schematics, David continued, his voice smooth as silk. If you attempt to build a prototype based on the data Amanda gave you, the battery will overheat and explode within 10 minutes. I believe you've already filed for the patent this morning? That's going to be an expensive lawsuit when your factory catches fire. The color drained from Sterling's face. He looked at Amanda with pure loathing. You said these were verified. Sterling hissed at her. I saw them on his desk. He was working on them. Amanda stammered, backing away. I put them on my desk because I knew you couldn't resist looking, David said. He took a pair of gloves from his pocket, his germophobia kicking in at the sight of the spilled champagne near his shoes, and put them on. Security. 2 large men materialized from the shadows. Mr. Sterling is leaving, David said. And Miss Amanda, well, she's trespassing. She was terminated effective 5 p.m. today for corporate espionage. You can't do this. Amanda screamed as the guards took her arms. She looked at me, her eyes filled with venom. You did this. You manipulated him. You're just a spoiled, rich witch. I signaled a waiter. He handed me a glass of water. I walked over to Amanda. She flinched, expecting me to throw it on her. Instead, I took a sip, swallowed, and smiled. Miss Amanda, I said softly, so only she could hear. I am a Thompson. I don't need to manipulate anyone to get what I want. I was born with the crown. You were just trying to steal the jewels. I turned to the guards. Get this trash out of my sight. It's ruining the aesthetic. As they dragged her out, kicking and screaming, the ballroom erupted into applause. It wasn't polite applause. It was the applause of the elite realizing the hierarchy had been maintained. The drive home was peaceful. The new car, a Rolls-Royce Phantom this time, smelled only of fresh leather and victory. David loosened his tie as we walked into the house. He looked exhausted but lighter. Did you really plant false schematics? I asked, kicking off my heels. Of course, David grinned. I told you. I have high standards. I wasn't going to let her leave without a parting gift. He walked to the kitchen. I followed him. To my surprise, he pulled a bag from the refrigerator. It was shrimp. Fresh, unpeeled shrimp. He rolled up his sleeves, washed his hands thoroughly, put on a fresh pair of gloves, and began to peel. What are you doing? I asked, leaning against the counter. It's midnight. I realized something, David said, his eyes focused on the task. That night at the dinner, when I peeled the shrimp for her, I did it because I was on autopilot. I solved problems. She had a problem, I fixed it. It meant nothing. He finished one, rinsed it, and held it out to me. But peeling them for you, he looked me in the eyes, his gaze intense and clear. This is intentional. This is service. This is my boundary. I took the shrimp from his fingers and ate it. It was sweet, cold, and perfect. You're learning, I murmured. I have a demanding teacher, he replied, peeling another. Sarah, about the arranged marriage? Yes. I think I'm done with the arranged part, he said. I'd like to just be married. If you'll have me. I watched him, the man who feared germs, standing elbow deep in fishy water just to make a point to his wife. I walked around the island, wrapped my arms around his waist from behind, and rested my chin on his shoulder. Keep peeling, David, I whispered. You have about 10 pounds to go. But I think I'll keep you. Epilogue. 6 months later. The scandal with Sterling Industries made the front page of the Financial Times. Their prototype exploded during a live investor demo. Sterling was ousted by his board. Amanda was named in the lawsuit and was currently buried under so much litigation she would be paying it off until the next century. She was unhireable in this city. I sat in my private office at Thompson Industries, scrolling through the news on my tablet. My phone buzzed. A message from David. Photo attachment. A picture of a lunchbox. It contained perfectly grilled lobster, shelled, truffle risotto, and a note that said, for Mrs. Anderson. Text. My assistant asked if she should bring this to you. I told her that if she touches my wife's food, she's fired. I'm bringing it myself. ETA 10 minutes. I smiled and put the phone down. Men who don't respect boundaries are replaced. Men who learn to build fortresses around their wives, they get to keep the crown. I checked my lipstick in the reflection of my screen. Perfect. The game was over. We won.